Apa sih yang kita inginkan untuk masa depan?
Keluarga yang sehat,
pendidikan yang merata,
akses untuk air bersih, ekonomi yang kuat,
atau lingkungan yang terawat.
semua itu adalah
cita-cita kita bersama.
Melalui Sustainable Development Goals atau SDGs.
Negara-negara termasuk Indonesia
telah turut serta dalam mewujudkan tujuan bersama tersebut.
Indonesia sendiri sudah membuat banyak pencapaian seperti
Tingkat kemiskinan yang terus berkurang,
akses pelayanan publik yang semakin baik,
Pendidikan dasar yang semakin tercukupi.
dan tingkat literasi nasional yang tinggi.
Akan tetapi, kita tidak boleh lengah.
Sebab masih banyak tantangan yang menghadang di depan mata.
ketimpangan sosial masih
Ketimpangan sosial yang masih sangat terasa.
Kebakaran dan kerusakan
kebakaran dan kerusakan hutan,
Kekerasan terhadap perempuan,
Kekerasan terhadap perempuan.
Sampah plastik yang
merusak lingkungan.
Pengangguran anak muda yang masih
pengangguran
tinggi.
anak muda yang masih tinggi.
Pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang belum usai ini harus segera kita tuntaskan.
Semua tantangan ini bisa kita taklukkan.
Hanya bila kita bergerak bersama.
sebab saya yakin,
tanpa kamu,
Kebakaran hutan akan terus ada.
tanpa kamu,
Perempuan akan terus berhadapan dengan kekerasan.
Tanpa kamu,
Anak-anak Indonesia masih terus belajar tanpa lampu.
Tanpa kamu,
Anak-anak Indonesia masih juga tidak mendapatkan gizi yang cukup.
dan tanpa kamu,
potensi anak muda menjadi pengangguran akan terus ada.
Tanpa kamu,
tujuan-tujuan kita itu hanyalah mimpi belaka.
jadi
mari kita berjalan beriringan.
Mari kita berjalan beriringan mewujudkan cita-cita kita bersama.
mewujudkan cita-cita kita bersama.
Dan pastikan
tak ada satupun kawan kita yang tertinggal di belakang.
17 tujuan untuk mengubah Indonesia yang lebih baik. Mari kita bangun Indonesia bersama-sama.
The theme of this year's International Youth Day, Youth Engagement for Global Action, spotlights the ways in which the voices and activism of young people are making a difference and moving our world closer to the values and vision of the United Nations Charter. This year's Youth Day occurs as the lives and aspirations of young people continue to be upended by the COVID-19 pandemic. Some have lost their lives, and many have seen family members and other loved ones perish. The vulnerabilities of young refugees, displaced persons, young women and girls, and others caught up in the conflict or disaster have grown more acute. A generation's very formation has been jeopardized, their steps towards adulthood, identity, and self-sufficiency is thrown off course. Some have taken on care burdens or are suffering from increased risks of hunger, violence in the home, or the prospect of never being able to resume their education. But this generation is also resilient, resourceful, and engaged. They are the young people who have risen up to demand climate action. They are mobilizing for racial justice and gender equality and are the champions of a more sustainable world. They are peace builders, promoting social cohesion at a time of social distancing, advancing an end to violence globally, and advocating harmony at a time of rising hatred. Many are young women who have been on the front lines in mobilizing for justice and climate action, while also serving on the front lines of the COVID-19 response. Realizing the promise of this generation means investing far more in young people's inclusion, participation, organizations, and initiatives. I call on all leaders and adults everywhere to do everything possible to enable the world's youth to enjoy lives of safety, dignity, and opportunity, and contribute to the fullest of their great potential.
Permisi. Halo. Punya waktu sebentar? Ini penting. Kami butuh bantuan kamu. Bayangkan kamu mengelilingi ruang angkasa, kamu sedang mencari kehidupan cerdas. Kamu sudah bepergian selama beberapa waktu karena ruang angkasa itu memang luas sekali. Kamu sudah melihat jutaan planet tanpa kehidupan sama sekali. Dan kamu melihatnya, bumi. Sebuah pulau kecil di ruang angkasa, setitik air, batu, dan tanah dengan udara yang bisa kita hirup. Mungkin ada kehidupan lain di luar sana, tapi di bumi ini kehidupan ada di mana-mana. Di atas tanah, di dalam air, di udara, tumbuhan, serangga, burung, ikan, dan tiap jenis makhluk hidup. Ada yang cantik, dan terus terang, ada juga yang agak aneh. Dan orang-orang, banyak orang seperti kamu dan saya, kamu tahu, kehidupan yang indah, cerdas. Manusia sama persis dengan makhluk hidup lain di bumi. Kita berasal dari biji kecil, dan dengan kondisi yang tepat, kita tumbuh dan menjadi dewasa. Untuk melakukan semua itu, kita memerlukan hal-hal dasar yang sama. Bukan handphone, sepatu kets, dan Facebook, tapi air bersih, udara segar, dan makanan sehat. Tanpa itu, kita tidak akan bertahan lama, terlepas dari seberapa pintar handphone kita. Kabar baiknya adalah, bumi cukup memiliki itu semua untuk kita. Kabar buruknya adalah kita menghadapi beberapa masalah. Pertama, perubahan iklim. Cara hidup kita sekarang di bumi ini merusak hal-hal yang kita butuhkan untuk hidup. Bensin yang kita bakar mencekik udara. Kita kehabisan air minum yang bersih. Dan semua ini mengubah cuaca. Dan itu bahkan belum setengahnya. Kedua, ketidaksetaraan. Banyak orang yang berkelimpahan dan sebagian besar hampir tidak punya apapun. Hal ini bisa menyebabkan kemiskinan dan ini tidak adil. Jutaan orang tidak bisa memperoleh obat-obatan yang bisa mencegah atau menyembuhkan penyakit mereka. Di beberapa tempat, anak-anak mengeluh karena harus bersekolah. Di tempat lain, jutaan anak tidak bisa bersekolah sama sekali. Apakah itu adil? Masalahnya, kitalah penyebab masalah ini. Jadi kita bisa memperbaikinya juga kalau kita semua bekerja sama dan menjadi lebih kreatif. Saya akan jelaskan. Kalau kamu memikirkannya, semua makhluk hidup memiliki kekuatan super. Burung bisa terbang, kita tidak. Anjing bisa mencium bau yang tidak bisa kita cium, yang tidak selalu buruk. Tumbuhan menyerap gas yang tidak bisa kita hirup dan mengubahnya menjadi udara yang bisa kita hirup. Tapi manusia memiliki kekuatan yang tidak dimiliki makhluk lain. Kita adalah makhluk yang paling kreatif yang pernah ada. Kepala kita penuh dengan ide dan kita mahir membuat sesuatu. Dan dengan kekuatan itu, kita telah mengubah dunia terus-menerus dan mengatasi ribuan masalah. Jadi sekarang kita bisa melakukannya lagi. Untungnya kita punya rencana. Rencana yang hanya akan berhasil dengan bantuan kamu. Ada sebuah organisasi di dunia yang mewakili penduduk di 193 negara dan bertujuan khusus untuk menjaga kita tetap damai dan bekerja sama. Mungkin kamu pernah mendengarnya, Perserikatan Bangsa-Bangsa. PBB baru saja mengumumkan tujuan global untuk pembangunan berkelanjutan. Ada 17 tujuan untuk melindungi bumi dari perubahan iklim dan membuat dunia lebih aman, lebih baik, dan lebih adil untuk semua orang. Kita harus mencapai tujuan tersebut pada tahun 2030. Karena memiliki rencana, kita bisa memantau kemajuan kita. Menepuk pundak kalau kita bekerja dengan baik, dan mencoba lebih keras kalau belum. 2030 tidak terlalu lama lagi, jadi kita harus saling mendukung dengan banyak ide. Kita bisa memulai dengan mempopulerkan tujuan ini. Jadi, ketahui tujuan ini dan beritahu semua orang, lalu minta mereka untuk memberitahukannya kepada orang lain. Lalu, di sini bagian yang seru. Lihat apakah ada hal praktis yang bisa kamu lakukan untuk benar-benar membantu. Kalau kita tidak memboroskan makanan, air, atau listrik, hal itu akan membantu melindungi bumi. Kalau kita mendukung orang-orang yang tidak diperlakukan adil dan menghormati hak asasi setiap orang, hal itu juga akan membuat perbedaan besar. Ada total 17 tujuan, dan kamu bisa membantu dengan berbagai cara. Yang terpenting, kita memerlukan ide dan cara baru untuk melakukan banyak hal. Bagaimana kalau menjadi seorang perempuan atau laki-laki tidak membuat perbedaan dalam perasaan aman kamu, teman yang kamu miliki atau tempat yang bisa kamu datangi? Bagaimana kalau kita menemukan cara baru untuk membuat air menjadi bersih dan bisa diminum? Bagaimana kalau kita bisa mendaur ulang semua sampah kita? Menurut kamu, apa lagi yang bisa kita lakukan? Kita hidup di bumi dan bergantung pada bumi untuk hidup. Kita memiliki banyak budaya yang berbeda. Kita hanya memiliki satu bumi. Kalau kita menjaga bumi dan satu sama lain dan berbagi hal yang kita hasilkan dengan adil dan berkelanjutan, semua yang kita butuhkan ada di sini. Suatu hari nanti, kita bisa menemukan kehidupan cerdas di planet lain. Sementara itu, mari kita lihat seberapa cerdas hal yang bisa kita lakukan di sini untuk kita. Di rumah, di bumi. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are a series of goals that aim to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone by 2030. But COVID-19 and its effects are a significant setback in progress towards these SDGs, and the most vulnerable are especially impacted. In 2015, the UN member states made it their mission to achieve peace and prosperity by 2030. To measure governments' progress towards this mission, they established 17 sustainable development goals that each country was tasked to meet. But COVID-19 has presented a unique challenge in accomplishing several key SDGs. The goal most directly affected by COVID-19 is SDG 3, Good Health and Well-Being. Across the world, people are getting sick and dying from COVID-19. Because healthcare systems have been overwhelmed by the virus, they are unable to care for those with other illnesses as well. The pandemic has deprived children of their regular education, which impacts SDG 4, quality education, and its end goal of helping people escape poverty. It is estimated that 90% of students worldwide are already out of school, and this has exacerbated the inequality between the richest and poorest students. In low-income countries, children of the richest 20% have a 79% education completion rate, while children of the poorest 20% have a 34% completion rate. It is also estimated that education online is out of reach for at least 500 million students worldwide. The UN created SDG 5, gender equality, to ensure it is treated as a human right and a necessary foundation for a better world. However, women are facing more consequences of the pandemic than men. The front lines of the pandemic are overwhelmingly female. Worldwide, 70% of all health and social workers are women, putting women directly in harm's way of the virus itself. Because of stay-at-home orders, women across the world are also being harmed more often by abusive partners. The virus has already done significant damage and will continue to do more if governments do not act swiftly to protect the most vulnerable. The UN acknowledges that the first priority must be for governments and healthcare systems to control the disease and mitigate as many of the impacts to the SDGs as possible. Governments must create a map to recovery from COVID-19 that ensures no one will be left behind.
Okay. Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to today's session with me, Revian, and here is we got the most beautiful between the three of us, Rara, and the last one is Alfredo. I hope you guys doing well during these unprecedented times, and I know it feels hard for now, but I believe we can bear it and going forward. And on today's session, we will talk about partnership on SDGs implementation, how we utilize youth to bring youth together to actually promoting SDGs and actually accelerating the implementation itself. And to do that, I would like to ask you, well, maybe you are wondering why we should, as a youth, should be involved in development agenda. Considering that many people say that youth are inexperienced and doesn't have what it takes to actually promoting SDGs. But I personally strongly believe that with collaboration and partnership, especially between youth, we can actually help to accelerate this SDGs implementation. And to deliver that concerns, and here's the today's agenda. The slide, please. Okay. For delivering these issues, we already arranged the agenda for today. The first one is meaningful youth participation, which and here's this menu. The first one is meaningful youth participation, where we will talk more regarding why youth should actively involve in in development agenda. And the second one is, well, I it's actually a bit flexing, but no, I'm kidding. We will talk about how we, as a 2030 Youth Force Indonesia, to actually utilize this partnership to be able to, doing project that with utilizing youth in the program. And the last one, we will kind of give you a pocket guide, simple steps on doing partnership, or maybe you are doing a project and maybe you have a project in mind, and we hope this will help you to achieve that, to get the perfect partner from your project. And before we start, I would like to remind you that if you have any commentary or any questions, please don't hesitate to write it down in the comment section, and we will gladly to answer your questions. And let's go to the appetizer. And the appetizer will be delivered by Alfredo, which will be presented by now. Alfredo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kak Revian. Hello, everybody. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Alfredo Duputra Diansyah, and I'm a communication student at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Okay, so right now we're going to this seminar, and I'm going to bring topic about meaningful youth participation, or MYP, in 2030 Youth Force Indonesia perspective. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, so first of all, before we start further to the topics, I'm going to show you the one quote that really relate to us. It's quotes from our founding father, Mr. Sukarno. And why I bring this quotes to this event tonight, because I want you to know that, I want to underline that Indonesia has been supporting and know youth potential since a long time ago from our founding father or from Independence Day. And I want you guys to know that there's nothing such as like useless action, because every action has a reaction, and whether it's big or not, whether it's better or worse. So yeah, what I want to underline is we are the youth people. So start act right now and start from little things. Okay, next. Okay, so basically, who are the youth? So based on article published by the United Nations regarding who are the youth, says that there is no definite definition of who are the youth, but actually, it has arose for statistical purpose in the International Youth Year 1985 by the General Assembly, namely youth is someone aged 15 until 24 years. And this statistic turned out used by many countries as reference. And for Indonesia itself, according to Indonesian Law of Youth, year 2009.40 defined youth as 16 until 30 years old. But this data is not consistently used or applied. Nonetheless, the operational definition and nuance of the term youth varies from country to country, depending on relative social, cultural, institutional, economical, and political factors. Youth are also always be the one who is expected to be a problem solver, or to be some people to move the masses, or has a brilliant innovation, and to be able to participate and be involved in the development agenda 2030 SDGs, or maybe to improve this current situation caused by our previous generation. But actually, do we really need to do that? Next, please. So there's this 3 points that I'm going to tell you tonight. But why should we involve and participate in this development agenda? It's because number one, it needs help from everyone. This agenda 2030 SDGs is actually intended and it needs help from everybody, and especially from the youth people, from us, because like the second point is the impact, because we as the next generation that will feel the impact from this problem if we don't act fast. Roughly to say that the previous generation is not going to be the one who feel the big impact from this disaster. We 10 or 20 years later who's going to run this world and and makes the world better and safe for our next generation. And next to the third goal, the third point, the fourth goal, even though all of these SDGs are important for the youth development, among these 17 goals that exist, these are indeed what must be done by youth. It requires youth perspective to settle it and considered a fundamental to overall youth development, such as maybe there's, like I said in the third point, there's quality education, the fourth goal, and maybe there's gender equality, the fifth goal, and then there's the reduce inequality, the 10th goal, and maybe like the economic growth, the eighth goal. But right now, what I'm going to underline is just the fourth goal, the quality education. Why we as young people should focus on this goal? Because actually, education is really fundamental for youth. Education is really fundamental for youth development, and this goal calls us to make our education to be equal, to be achieved by for all of group, for all of people, for all of society. And to achieve this, we need a concrete action from all part of the society, from youth, from adult, from men, from women, to have a free, inclusive, and equal education all over the world. Next, please. As we can see here, there's a statistic data that comes from the, wait, I can say it, sorry, the Central Bureau of Statistics in Indonesia 2018. So it comes with bahasa, so if I need to translate it, the data is about the average length of the population to gain an education age 15 years and over according to economic status. And it states that on the statistic data that the education gap in Indonesia is still expanding. There's still a big gap between one group to another. And as we can see, there's 5 quintile. There's the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So it's basically quintile is like group. So the first quintile is like the first group. It's the poorest group, and then there's the fifth group is like the wealthiest group. So as we can see here, if we compare with the first group and then the fifth group, as we can see here, like I said before, there's still a big gap. There's still a big gap and still expanding right now. And if we as NGO or as individual or our government don't have a solution for this gap still going to be expand day by day. And then we as youth are the agent of change. And with the dazzling innovation and watchful planning, and of course, adults guide, we can accomplish these goals and agenda. But has this thought ever occurred to you that we as youth often used to be as an appearance or just display an adult stage? And can the adults just do their job and we as the young people just sit and relax and be beneficiaries? And is our role really important? Next. So right now, what I'm going to tell you is about a concept that comes from an organization from Netherlands. So it's developed by Choice for Youth and Sexuality and UAC. So it's an organization. So what is it called? Is it called a flower of participation? And it's a tool to explain the concept of meaningful youth participation. And this tool is used to reflect the current status of MYP, meaningful youth participation in an organization. And it's also used to understand their position within an organization for their participation. So I talk a lot about MYP, but what does it mean really? It means that young people can participate on equal terms with an adult or just work independently in organization or in activities. And because of this reason, mechanism has to be in place for young people to have an active role that meaningful so it can make an impressive outcomes. Okay, next please. So, wait, I can't see it, sorry. So we right now, you can see that there's this picture of the flower of participation concept. So yeah, we use flower, or we use plants, we use flower as a represent of meaningful youth participation. As you can see here, there's the root that represent the core elements of MVP, and then there's the insect that represent the non-meaningful form of youth participation, and then there's leaves and flowers that represent the different forms of MYP, and then there's the water and sun, the external support, and then there's the soil. It represents the commitment from young people. So yeah, I'm gonna start one by one from root. So basically in nature of law or in biology, that the roots of flower are essential for flower to grow and to flourish. Basically, it's the reason why the flower is stand still. And as we can see here in the picture, that the root itself have 5 core elements. It has freedom of choice, information, voice, responsibility, and decision-making power. And I think for the 5 core elements, you know all about it. And what I'm going to underline is just the voice, the one core element, the voice. So the voice here, it represents that young people can voice their opinion and views, but also the adults that hear their opinion and views can respect and listen to that and then integrate their voice and opinions to a decision-making process. And then as we can see here, there's the leaves and the petals. So choice distinguish between these 2 levels of MYP. So the higher level is the petals, the higher level of MYP. And then these petals have 4 forms. First of all is youth-led and adults have no power. Youth and adult participation, sorry. So it's basically both young and adult people are equally involved and shared power. And then there's youth-led shared decision with adults. So it's when an activity or when a program is youth-led, but there is shared decision-making with the adults. And then there's the adults-led shared decision with youth. So in this form, in this petals form, adults in charge of activities and organization, but they include the young people in the decision-making process. And then there's the 4th form is the youth-led and adults have no power. So basically is this organization and this activity is led by youth and adults have no power in there. They just keep an eye on their activities and organization. Okay, so then we've come to the 3rd form of MYP. So there's insect. So what does this insect means? So like I said before, in the nature of law or in biology, that insect corrupts plant by eating it, by eating their roots, by eating their plants, by eating their petals, by stealing their food. And the insect and FOP destroy the MYP. And there's this 2 form of this insect is like there's manipulation and tokenism. And then there's the external support, the water and the sun. And then there's soil. So soil, basically, it's a commitment. So MYP is all about young people. They have a crucial role, and without their commitment, the flower simply cannot grow. And so commitment from young people is represented by soil, in which the flower grows. So from all these aspects that I explained, it came a conclusion that these aspects related to each other, work together, and in order for the plant to grow, we can just depend on one aspect. Instead, we should depend on all of the aspects. Okay, so back to my first question. Once again, is our role as young people really important? Or are we just an appearance or display in adult stage? Honestly, if I need to answer the second questions, yes, Sometimes we are an appearance in their world, but that does not mean that we can change that. There's a lot of things to do to make change. For example, maybe dialogue with them or settle it together. And then to the next question, is our role important for change of the world? Yes, definitely, very crucial. Youth now has a very important role in achieving 2030 agenda. It can be said that the youth will become the next torchbearer. As the principle of the 2030 agenda said that no one left behind. So that means we should embrace each other as young people regardless of their difference from maybe their religions, race, skin, sexual orientation, or other things. We also youth should not only be spectators and beneficiaries. Instead, together, we must also become partners and implementers of this agenda. Hence, of all this requires collaboration between youth to be able to achieve the 2030 SDGs. Thank you so much. Back to you, Kak Revian.
Yeah, and very interesting indeed, because youth might be experienced, but if when we involve youth in our project or in development agenda in general, youth tend to bring fresh insight to the project or to any activities actually. Hence, the things is triggering us as a Youth Force Indonesia to give them spotlight, to give youth a spotlight, so they will be able to actually voicing their voice to the broader society. Talking about 2030 Youth Force Indonesia, and the second one about the best practice of Youth Force Indonesia will be presented by Rara. Rara, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ravian. It was such a nice presentation from Alfredo. So, hello everyone. I saw that there are two people who comes from Philippines. So, hello. And before we start the session, let me introduce myself. So, my name is Rara. I am currently studying at Pertamina University in management major, and I've been in community engagement in 2030 Youth Force Indonesia. So when we talk about SDGs, of course, we talk about inclusivity. It means that everyone can take part in achieving SDGs, especially young people. So here, 2030 Youth Force Indonesia is trying to encourage young people and youth to contribute more through our programs and events. So here I am. I want to share to you guys about our events previously and especially in right now in 2020. Okay, maybe next. Next. Okay, so until now, we have been reached 12,000 people from online, 5,000 people offline in 5 islands in Indonesia. Next. Okay, before we are going to our activity in this year, let's throw back to the previous events. So next. So previously we have some. Okay, so here is some of our big events. So there was SDGs Youth Meeting. So this is a quiet big event where we did a roadshow to 6 places in Indonesia to have a dialogue between youth in the local area and the government. So the government, such as the Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas, the Executive Officer of the Republic Indonesia, and the Ministry of Communication and Informations. And the next one, we also celebrate the International Girls' Day in collaboration with Sehari Jadi Pemimpin. And next, we also have the International Youth Day 2018. We did a workshop and talk show in collaboration with the government, the development partners, and influencers to basically increase the capacity of young people in art and literacy. And at the end of 2019, which is last year, we did an SDGs X School. So this event is basically a final event of SDGs X School to present the school ambassador that had been trained by our team. Okay, so next. Okay, move on to 2020. So even though we are in the pandemic situation, it doesn't mean that we need to stop giving an impact, right? So we have two big projects that was held through virtual meetings. There were Gita 2030 engagement and International Youth Day 2020. Next. Okay, so Gita 2030 engagement is basically a massive open online course or a MOOC to develop a youth participation in implementing Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. This event is basically an easy accessible SDGs learning program because it was held online for all youth in Indonesia. So as we know that Indonesia is such a big country and we have a lot of places, we have so many islands. So it will be good if all of the people, all of the youth in Indonesia can also involve in our events. And through this program, we aim to increasing the literacy, practical skill, and youth involvement in SDGs implementation. So there were 55 participants that joined into these programs from 55 organizations in 5 provinces in Indonesia. And we had 8 sessions. So we divided it into 4 modules. So in each module, we did 1 until 3 sessions. So, and also we encourage the participant of 2030 engagement to join the International Youth Day 2020 as a sequel to finally implement and share their best practices and have a collaboration with the governments and other organizations. So because this is an online course, so of course it's like, it's like you are going to school. So we had homework and everything. So the platform that we use is WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is the platform to communicate and to discuss everything about the course and basically everything. You can also share your experiences in your organization through WhatsApp and the Google sites. And also we use Google Classroom and Google Drive to submit the homeworks. Okay, next. Okay, so move on to the International Youth Day 2020. So in this year, our celebration is quite different with the International Youth Day in 2018, as I have been mentioned before. So in this year, we did everything by virtual. So this is a series of events leading to the commemoration of the International Youth Day 2020. And we came up with the topic of advocacy. So the community of practices did a discussion to bring the issues in every pillars of SDGs and presented it into the government and the national institutions. So during this event, we have reached 164 community of practice participants from 160 organizations in 14 provinces in Indonesia. Next. So for the commemoration, we did a collaboration with the UNFPA and the Indonesia Ministry of National Development Planning or Bapanas. So we did a TikTok challenge. So for those of you guys, I'm pretty sure that you already know about TikTok, right? So this is such a huge platform in Indonesia. So we thought that why not we are trying to use this platform to raise the awareness of youth in implementing SDGs. So that's why we chose TikTok to did the challenge. Okay, next. Okay, so as I told you before that we have a collaboration with the community of practices participants to share their best practices, to have a discussion, to finally bring those to the government. So during the International Youth Day, we use Mighty Networks as our platforms to communicate with the COP participants. And just think like a Facebook group. So we invited the participants into this platform called Mighty Networks, and they will have discussions, and they will share their knowledge there or events to finally share it with the other people from the different organizations. And we also use this platform as a place to give the informations, everything about International Youth Day 2020. Okay, next. Okay, so besides the Mighty Networks, we also did some supporting programs during the International Youth Day 2020. We did this because we want to collaborate more with the young people to engage more with them. So next. Okay, so we did 8 sessions of webinar. So here is some of our webinars. We did it with the other organizations. And this webinar was held privately only for the COP participants. So basically, in the webinar, we invite the people from other organizations to share their knowledge about SDGs. And we divided it into the pillars of SDGs. So do you guys know or familiar with the pillar of SDGs? So maybe you can write it down in the comments. What are the pillar of SDGs? Okay, next. Okay, so before we did a collaboration with the other organizations. So now we want to collaborate with COP participants and also with the other organizations. So we have a podcast on Spotify, but unfortunately it's only available in Bahasa Indonesia. So maybe for those of you who are from Indonesia, you can listen it on Spotify. We did 7 special episodes during the International Youth Day in collaboration with the youth from community of practices and with the other organization. Next. We also did Instagram Live. It was streamed 3 times. We also did this in collaboration with the community of practices participants. So why we really encourage the young people or the youth that have been involved in our events to do all of these, because we believe that it can accelerate the implementation of SDGs. So through young people, when they share their knowledge and share their best practices, the other young people will be will have more courage to finally join and have and know more about SDGs. So next. Okay, so to have an implementation is SDGs. It's basically because SDGs is an inclusivity program, so you can start it by yourself. So everyone can do it, as I mentioned it at first. So we encourage people, and especially the young people, to raise the awareness of SDGs. And we have Instagram filter. I know that a lot of you use Instagram. And by this Instagram filter, we hope that we can accelerate the implementation of SDGs, and more people will know about what is SDGs, and they will be familiar through our campaign from Instagram filter. So if you guys want to use this Instagram filter, please kindly follow our Instagram in @itforceid, and you can download the filters on the filter box. And also, as I mentioned before, we also have podcasts in Bahasa Indonesia. So for those of you who want to listen, you can visit it on the 2030 podcast. Okay, next. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any question or you want to collaborate with us, you can kindly visit Youth Force Indonesia in Facebook and Youth Force ID on our Instagram. Thank you.
So much, Rara, for the wonderful presentation. Now that you guys already know that Youth Force Indonesia utilize many creative or digital media to approach youth, since youth itself is a unique, let's say, unique group of society, which needs to be approached by relatable option. And before we go further, I would like to remind you guys to kindly type your commentary, or if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to put it on the chat box or on the comment box. Okay, let's get going. Now, you guys might be wondering how actually we, as a 2030 Youth Force Indonesia, actually be able to achieve what Rara already told you guys. And to answer that, let's play some game. It's a simple game. I will ask you a series of questions, 3 in total. You just need to type your answer in the comment box or chat box. Okay, here's the first question. The next, please. Okay, the first question is, imagine that you are initiating this awesome webinar that talking about how to empower disabilities fellow. And you actually want to approach a speaker to be able to partake in your project, right? So between two speakers, speakers A and speakers B, who would you like to approach first? If you prefer to approach the person A, please type A in the comment or in the chat box. If you prefer to approach the person B, please do write it out as well. Cool, thank you very much. Now the thing is, if you want to approach, let's say, potential partnership for your project or anything or activity, it will be better to get a partner that are belong to your target participants group. So in this case, I personally would be prefer to approach a person A. Sorry. Okay, the second questions. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, this one. Okay, imagine that you are this awesome person in Instagram, let's say an influencer perhaps, and one day there are two people that message you, that DM you, and they said that they would like to establishing a partnership with you. So between two messages, which one would you prefer to reply first? You can type your answer as usual in the comment or chat box. Now the thing is with these questions, if you would like to, let's say, approach your targeted speakers or potential partner, it would be better to not only state not to only identify yourself, but actually to completely identify or addressing your purpose, your identity, where are you coming from, what are you want to make, and how they can participate. Thank you. So in this case, I personally would be prefer to answer the message from the person B. Okay, here's the last question. Now that you are let's say you are a capable person who will be able to deliver any topic, let's say, and you are invited to be a speaker in a certain webinar by these two people as well, which one would you like to attend? Is person B or a webinar from the person A? As usual, you can type your answer in the chat or the comment box. Okay, thank you for the participation. In this case, it would be better if you would like to approach a targeted, let's say, potential partner or potential speakers, let's say, it would be better to make an equal footing. Means you should state what you can give to them and what they can give to you. So in this case, I would actually prefer to attend the webinar for the person B. Okay, let's get going to the next slide. Know that maybe you are wondering, how can we actually approach our targeted participants or let's say partner or speakers? And to verify to you, this is the simple step on how you doing a partnership. The next slide, please. Okay, the 3-step is called 3A, means align, act, and assure. Well, actually, this method, I've been found this method last night when I'm taking a bath. But actually, I would like to make you to make it more understandable. So I will use these terms: 3A, align, act, and assure. So what is and let's elaborate each one of them. Okay, next slide. Align. Align means aligning your project needs to what your potential partner can give you. Means there is 3 steps to aligning this. The first one is to knowing your project. Means what is your project needs? What is the goal? What kind of participants that you want to target at? Is this a young people, the adult one? And the last one is you should ask yourself on how the session will be delivered. By knowing your project, you will be able to break it down and decide what type of speakers, what type of partner that you would like to approach. And by knowing your target partner means to check your target or your potential partner presence. Let's say if you want to hold a webinar, you probably want to check your potential partner's presence on social media. Maybe if they probably post a content that might hurt your project in the future, you probably want to avoid them. Make sure that they are capable and they're able to deliver the value of your project to the fullest. And to do this, the most important thing is to open yourself. Means open to any possibility that might occur. It on some of your project, it might be you want to probably prioritizing the quality of the project rather than getting extra exposure. So it would be better to avoid partner which have extra much followers on Instagram, but like let's say less capability or something. So it probably will be better to if you know this person who are very capable to delivering the topic that you like to deliver. It probably better to approach them, and even if they don't give, let's say, extra exposure to the project itself. And after knowing the potential partner that you like to approach, please do list it down. Means we come to the first step, means choose. Choose who would you like to approach. List it down, whoever you able to find, list it down first, and break it down into several sections. It can be as simple as write the name, what they are good at, and what could be given to each other. Now, after you list it down, then you can decide who to approach. And please give closure. Means, you probably have this many lists of potential speakers, right? So you can, after you list it down, you will be able to prioritizing who you want to approach to in what project, where it will be done, why they should help you, who to contact if they need any help, and the detail of the technical flow of the project. The closure or the detail of that 5 statements or of the statement should be a state in the message that you deliver to them. It probably you will use a body, an email, or maybe Instagram message perhaps. Any media that you want to use, please make sure to provide those kind of informations. Okay, cool. Now let's go into the next slide. Thank you. Now that you already know who would like to approach, then it's come to the second A, means act. Of course, if you already have potential partner in mind, then it will be better to approach them immediately. But then the question is how? Well, for me, establishing partnership is like a dance. You give an action, they give a reaction. You send an email, they receive your email and reply it back. But the question is, what if they don't reply? Well, maybe they just got sleep or something. Then if that happen, just wait. Just wait for a moment. And what if they still don't reply you back? Well, just give them a deadline. And if they don't comply, simply just search for someone else. You already made this awesome plan for your project, so don't waste your time for the uncertainty. If they don't entertain your purpose, then move on. Cool? And this experience for a first-timer might be feels nerve-wracking because we sometimes might not sure if what we already write, what we want to deliver is the correct thing. What if what we already wrote is wrong? Sometimes there's uncertainty coming into us. So here's the simple tips to hopefully we'll be able to enhance your writings. So we can use this trick that remember that 3 is a magic number. What does that means? Means if you put your sentence, your purposes, your points into 3 words, it will feels more convincing, compelling, credible. In fact, many famous sentences that we know already consist this rule of 3. You might be ever heard of this. The government of the people, by the people, for the people. Vini, Vidi, Vici. Align, act, assure. Use these simple tricks and it will elevate your ratings. Now let's go to the next slide. Now that you already sent the email, the messages, let's say, or the invitation, and let's say your potential partners agreed on your proposal. So it will be better to assure everything. What it means by assure? The simple sentence to wrap it up is remember that protection leads to satisfaction. What protection means? The protection means is the protection of your project and your partner. Well, let's say you already have this awesome project plan and the partner already agreed on your proposal and agreed to protect on your project. But the thing is, you must be willing one to that this partner decline the promises, right? In the middle of nowhere. So it would be safer to write an agreement document for them. Put up any detail on them, on the document, and both of the parties should be agreed on. It should be as simple as consisting like the rights and the obligation of both party. Okay, now, so I would like to share this story with you, with the why we should protect our partner. So recently, I attend this very big webinar. It's very big. You can say who the participant is like thousands, perhaps 700 to thousands. And unfortunately, at some point of the sessions, the participants cannot comply with the rules. They are disturbing the session with, in a sense, that throwing forwards or even scribbling the presentation. Taking notes that the presentation using Zoom, so they are scribbling the scribbling the presentation and actually disturbing the speakers. And this is why ensuring the safety of the partners should be important as well. And to do that, well, maybe you cannot protect all of them. Maybe you can ensure all of the things going well according to your plan. But it's still better to have that agreement document to at least you can mitigate the risk that will be happen to you or the project itself. And to actually ensure the safety and comfort of everyone that is involved in the project itself. No, this is actually coming to my last slide. And to wrap it up, I would like to tell you that establishing partnership could sometimes feels like establishing a friendship, because you don't know, probably the involvement of this partner doesn't end just because the project ends as well. Maybe it will lead you to the greater opportunity in the near future. Well, who knows, right? So it will be better to prepare everything up so we can, mitigate everything that we don't want to happen. Okay, and always remember, and it will be my last slide, so we can go to the next slide. Yeah, like I said before, please keep yourself open for every opportunity and be prepared to be surprised, because not everyone is as good or as bad as their LinkedIn profile says. So if you believe this one person is good for a project, please do approach them, even though they cannot give extra exposure to your project as well. And this is what we also taking into account for the 2030 for Indonesia whenever we want to approach someone to protect in our program as well. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions or commentary or anything, like I said, you can write it down in the comment or the chat box. Thank you again, everyone. Okay, maybe while we are doing the selection of the questions, or maybe while we are waiting, I would like to what can I say? I would like to give this question to Rara and Alfredo. I think the first question it will be for Alfredo, and I'm kind of wondering though. I know that we all know that meaningful youth participation is important. That involving youth in development agenda is really, really important and really crucial indeed. But the question is, what could actually happen if youth does not participate in SDGs implementation? What do you think, Alfredo?
Okay, so it's a simple answer. There's a simple answer to that. So maybe my answer is the global goals or our agenda for 2030 cannot be achieved. Maybe the global warming is still rising, and then the loss of forest is bigger, or and then the sea level is rising, and maybe if we talk about the fourth goal in SDGs, like the education goal, maybe the bigger gap in education environment is still expanding, and many possible consequences. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my answer.
Thank you very much for the response. Well, I kind of agree on that actually, because based on my experience as well when doing a project with 2030 for Indonesia, sometimes we thought that there is this kind of perspective probably that like we already thought before that you might be inexperienced and don't have what it takes to actually participate in development agenda. But when we try to open our mind to give them opportunity, it actually feels surprising, because there's a time when I surprised that there is actually this organization that lead by this youth with have this unique vision, and they have a certain unique ways to actually deliver their value on SDGs. And that's kind of interesting to have them in the project. Yeah, that's why we actually try to give a spotlight to many youth as possible, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think it will be my second question. I will be given the question to Rara. Ra, based on your experience, what could actually make partnership can be successful?
Okay, so nice question, but I think Ravian is already answered it on his presentation before, but maybe I will add some. So maybe I will add some. Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe I will add some from my perspective and my experience into the Youth Force Indonesia. So, as Ravian told to us before, that partners is like a friendship. So we need to keep engaged with our partners, especially I had been experienced to engage with the youth that has been participate in our events, because as Ravian told us before too, that it is not partnership is not ended as our event ended. So we need to continue to contact them, to keep engaged with them, and ask them to involve in our events and our programs, such as like I told you before in my presentation. So we ask them to involve into our programs, like our podcast, our webinar, our live. So they will have, as Ravian told us, they will have a spotlight to finally share and give what they have been doing through their experiences and organizations. So I think the point is we need to engage. we need to engage with them. We need to have a contact with them and ask them to always join in our events and program. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. I really agree on that because when we establishing, let's say, a partnership or a collaboration, it will lead to many opportunities such as probably we will have a new friends or strengthening our bond to each others, and actually will be made them to involve and give their idea to the development agenda. Because if we are talking about youth, it probably wouldn't make any sense if we won't involve youth, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah,
I
sure.
agree.
And that's one thing that I also learned in 23 Force Indonesia, that by involving youth, we found this many amazing insights, this amazing, perspective on some agenda. Well, maybe Rara already mentioned something about community of practice that 23 Youth Force already been done in, I think it's last month. Well, the goal of the community of practice itself is actually to, creating, compiling an idea to actually give it to the stakeholders so they can give it a commentary. And it is so interesting because the concerns that we try to address is actually is bigger than we could imagine. It's talking about economic, it's talking about social justice, it's talking about how law and government should be actually implemented. And learning that youth have many perspective on that is really fun experience actually. Okay, I think we get questions. And okay, here we go. Okay, in your opinions, what are the greatest obstacles to partnership among youth organizations, either between youth or youth and the government? Probably Rara would like to take these questions.
Okay, so this is such a great question. So I think both of the partnership among youth organization, between youth and youth, or between youth and the government, they have their own obstacles, of course. So in my opinion, I think maybe it looks like that the youth and the government will have a bigger obstacles rather than to have a partnership between youth and youth, because it is in the implementation, as 2030 Youth Force have been doing. We also have a partnership with the government, and it is not as easy as that, but we are trying to have a collaboration with the government, because we need to make sure that our projects, what's on our mind is aligned with what the government do, because they make the law. So we need to be aligned with them. But to engage with them, it is harder than to have a partnership between youth and youth. So maybe it is quite tricky to engage with the government. But I think we as a youth, we need to try to have a collaboration with the government, because it is very important to finally match and to finally match with what the government needs from us, and to share what's our what we need. So so hopefully the government can facilitate us from that. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Fedo, would you like to take this question as well?
Maybe just a little bit. So, I think that the main problem about what are the greatest obstacle between the organization, the youth organization, and the government is like the communication and the way and the way of thinking, because we need to make sure that the government or youth organization have knowledge too about about the meaningful youth of participation, because we cannot be just the one that understand the meaningful youth participation, but also the government has also know about the meaningful youth participation, because if just the one side that just know about this knowledge or this concept, maybe I don't think the partnership between the youth and the government cannot be good, can be good at all. That's it.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to add some more that yeah, it's kind of tricky to actually engage youth and government. Well, it'll be tricky, but it still can be done. If we are talking about the obstacles, I think the most crucial issue is trust, because youth often sometimes, well, government actually probably wouldn't believe in youth that much, but the thing is, sometimes youth also doesn't believe in themselves as much as well, because they feels like, am I the right person for this? Am I the right person to actually deliver this concern and anything? And for those youth, for the another youth who want to engage this youth that, let's say, less getting spotlight, it will be kind of hard as well, because some youth organization perhaps doesn't know how to effectively engage youth and government, how to strategically creating or establishing connection between them. And as a youth itself, we sometimes tend to like to utilizing the utmost technology we tend to utilize the newest media to approach them. While in reality, sometimes it's effective, but sometimes it's not, because when we are talking about youth, it's not always youth that are living in town, because youth also living in many area, in rural area as well. And if you want to approach youth in rural area, if you want to empower them, it probably will hard if we using social media or something like that. Well, I'm not sure that they even have an internet, right? And for the government itself, please do keep in mind, in my opinion, that advocacy process or establishing partnership in this case cannot be done in a single day. Well, it's not like 101 Arabian stories. So there will be a lot of process. There will be a lot of hardship. It will get hard, but hard doesn't mean impossible. So keep doing it, and you will get to that sometimes by, let's say, we could probably engage public and advocate to public to actually let the public voicing their opinion regarding some issues. Well, if a lot of people raising this issue, government would probably will take a glance at least to the issues, right? And government will aware as well of what we would like to deliver to our concerns. Wow, it's a wonderful session. And fun fact, I think it already been past 7 months that I never met Rara and Alfredo. So it is a good opportunity to meet them again. And I think that is the last questions that we could answer for now. However, don't worry, if you want to, let's say, doing a further conversation with any of us, just find us on Instagram or Facebook in 2030 Youth Force Indonesia. Just search it out in the search bar and you will find us. And we will absolutely gladly to have a conversation with you as well. Now, okay, before we close this session, I would like to give the mic to Rara again to give, I think, yeah, she got something to say to us. So Rara, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I hope that it's been an insightful session during this discussion. So maybe I want to share to you guys something that basically to make a big impact, of course, we need a collaboration. And as we have been discussed before, it is not easy, but we can start it from our environment. So what can we do as a youth? Basically, we can you can start by joining the SDGs events, having a discussion with other youth, or join like other organizations, or even make a discussion with the governments. So yeah, that is a message as for me. So thank you very much.
Okay, now it's your chance, Alfredo.
Yeah, maybe it's just a short message for all of you who watch this live. It's just the action you take, the things you buy, and the way you think. All of it has an impact, because like I said before, every action has a reaction, whether it's big, whether it's small, or is bad, good, better, or worse. But all you need to do first, if you want to act, to you know, be part as a SDGs heroes or the SDGs organization. You can just do one simple thing, one simple individual thing, anything you can be done. Maybe first, like a simple thing, maybe just change your mindset or educate yourself first. Thank you.
Simple thing that will lead to bigger impacts, yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. But I would like to conclude this session by saying this to you all, that we should acknowledge that youth is inexperienced, unpolished, and unaware. If we are alone as a youth, hence, by together we will be able to form a complementary bond between us to be resilient and eager in exerting the SDGs and ensure that no one is left behind. So thank you very much for attending this session. We will see you again in the future. And bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are a series of goals that aim to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone by 2030. But COVID-19 and its effects are a significant setback in progress towards these SDGs, and the most vulnerable are especially impacted. In 2015, the UN member states made it their mission to achieve peace and prosperity by 2030. To measure governments' progress towards this mission, they established 17 sustainable development goals that each country was tasked to meet. But COVID-19 has presented a unique challenge in accomplishing several key SDGs. The goal most directly affected by COVID-19 is SDG 3, Good Health and Well-Being. Across the world, people are getting sick and dying from COVID-19. Because healthcare systems have been overwhelmed by the virus, they are unable to care for those with other illnesses as well. The pandemic has deprived children of their regular education, which impacts SDG 4, quality education, and its end goal of helping people escape poverty. It is estimated that 90% of students worldwide are already out of school, and this has exacerbated the inequality between the richest and poorest students. In low-income countries, children of the richest 20% have a 79% education completion rate, while children of the poorest 20% have a 34% completion rate. It is also estimated that education online is out of reach for at least 500 million students worldwide. The UN created SDG 5, gender equality, to ensure it is treated as a human right and a necessary foundation for a better world. However, women are facing more consequences of the pandemic than men. The front lines of the pandemic are overwhelmingly female. Worldwide, 70% of all health and social workers are women, putting women directly in harm's way of the virus itself. Because of stay-at-home orders, women across the world are also being harmed more often by abusive partners. The virus has already done significant damage and will continue to do more if governments do not act swiftly to protect the most vulnerable. The UN acknowledges that the first priority must be for governments and healthcare systems to control the disease and mitigate as many of the impacts to the SDGs as possible. Governments must create a map to recovery from COVID-19 that ensures no one will be left behind.
Oke Pak, ya, sebentar lagi saya ke sana ya Pak, tunggu ya.
17 poin membangun masa depan agar tak ada yang tertinggal di belakang. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education for everyone. Economic growth with innovation and equality. Wujudkan sustainable cities, be responsive in consumption and reproduction. Put the end of climate change, put the life below water and the life on land. Justice in this world